I'm Aulia Mahmuda and my partner Mega Astuti. We are on to presentation about our material. There is characteristic and step in constructing essay test types. Please change the slide, Mega. In this slide, there is characteristic of essay test. The first is the length of the required responses varies with reference to marks and time. Mean is, for example, bad papers where there are 10 marks, 5 marks, and 3 marks question. So the length of the answer is variety accordingly. The second, there is its demand a subjective judgment. Mean about judgment means making judgment or assessing where subject means not fair enough. It differs from person to person. For example, criteria of writing the statement of specification. In that we are supposed to give each criterion along with the example. Some may write only criteria and others may write criteria along with the examples. Accordingly, the marks of grades are given depending on degree of quality, correctness, and completeness of the answer. And the last, there is most familiar and widely used. Like essay has become a major part of a formal education. Secondary students are taught structured essay format to improve their writing skills. And there are easy is of two types. The first, there is restricted response questions. The second, there is extended response question. And the next, there are merits of essay writing. The first is, it is relatively easier to prepare and administer a 6 question extent response easy test than to prepare and administer a comparable 16-item multiple choice test items. The second, it is the only means that can access an examination ability to organize and present his ideas in a logical and coherent fashion and in effective prose. The third, it can be successfully employed for practically all school subjects. The fourth is some of the objectives such as ability to organize idea effectively, ability to criticize or justify a statement, ability to criticize or justify a statement, ability to interpretation can be measured by this type of the test. Next slide. The fifth, logical thinking and critical reasoning systematic presentation can be best developed by this type of test. 6. It's help induce good study habits such as making outlines and summaries, organizing the argument for and against. 7. The student can show their initiative, the originality of their thought, and the fertility of their imagination as they are permitted freedom of response. 8. The response of the student need not be completely right or wrong. All degrees of comprehensiveness and accuracy are possible. And the last is it largely eliminates guessing. The next, there is the merits of easy writing. Every coin has two sides, same ways in easy test. If there are merits, then demerits are also there. So we will see the merits of essay writing. The first is limited sampling of the content. It means few questions can be included in gift test. Example, if in one particular book, 18 chapters are given. 2. Subjectivity of scoring. 3. Halo effect. 4. Mood of examiner. 5. Ambiguous wording of the question. 6. There is examiner contaminated by various factors. Next slide, please. 7. It requires an excessive time on the part of students to write, while assessing reading essay is very time consuming and laborious. 8. Only a teacher or competent professionals can access it. 9. The speed of writing can influence the performance of the learner. This results in low scores even the learner may know the correct answer of all the questions. In the last, it may not provide a true picture of the comprehension level of the teacher. Next, there is a suggestion for improving easy questions. First, there is restrict the use of easy questions to just learning outcomes that cannot be satisfactorily measured by objective items. Second, do not start the easy question with words such as what, who, when, and where. etc. In general, start with compare, contrast, discuss, and explain. Third, write the easy question in such a way that the task is clearly and unambiguously defined for each examinee. Fourth, direction for the last should be especially widened. 5. Avoid the use of Okay, next, the third is write the easy question in such a way that the task is clearly and unambiguously defined for each examinee. The fourth direction for the test should be explicitly written. 5. Avoid the use of optional questions. 6. Students are found to be misinformed about the meaning of important terms used in easy questions. 7. Allow liberal time limits so that the easy test will not be a test of speeding of writing. Next slide, please. 8. We have seen that the easy examination suffers from lack of adequate sampling. 9. One of the favorite question of examiners. The last maybe there is suggestion for scoring the easy examinations. 1. Prepare an outline of the expected answer in advance, showing what points are required and the credit to be allowed for each. 2. Decide in advance that factors are to be measured. 3. Examination should be scored as far as possible by the one who frames the question. 4. Grade the paper as nearly anonymously as possible. 5. Score one question through all of the papers before considering another questions. 6. When important decisions such as selection for awards or scholarships are to be based on the results, obtain 2 or more independent rating and average them. 7. The mechanics of expression, readability, spelling, punctuations, grammar should be judged separately from what the student writes. Example, the subject's matter content. The next slide will be presented by my partner, Mega Astuti. Mega Astuti, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for my friends Aulia, Adzki, Mahmuda. And the next material about test construction. The first, planning the test. 2, preparing the test. 3, administering the test. 4, scoring the test. And the last, evaluation the test. Written test. And essay test, objective test. In the essay test, have attendant response type and restricted response type. On objective test, selection types and supply type. And this is restricted response type. First, short essay types. 2, short answer, and the last, very short answer. And 2, selection type. The 1, true or false items, and 2, multiple choice. 3, matching type. 4, extended matching question. 5, multiple response items. 6, assertion reason item. And 7, interpretive item. And the last, supply type. First, short answer, and 2, completion answer. The essay test. Definition essay test. Essay test is a test that requires the student to structure a long written response up to several paragraphs. According to Gilbert Sachs, believes that essay test is a test containing questions requiring the student to respond in writing. Essay test emphasize recall rather than recognition of the correct alternative. Essay test may require relatively brief response or extended response. And then features of essay question. First, no single answer can be considered throughout and correct. And the second, the examine is permit freedom of response. And the last, the answer vary in their degree of equality and correction. And then classification of essay type question. 1, extended response, and 2, restricted response. Extended response. In extended response, no restriction is placed on the student as to the points He or she will discuss and the type of organization the students will use. For the example, A. Describe the health status of India suggested by different health committees constitute from time in India. B. Explain the role of nurse in the health care time. An extended response of essay type question permits the student to demonstrate the ability to 1. Recall factual knowledge. 2. Evaluate their factual knowledge. 3. Organize their ideas. 4. Present their ideas in a logical, coherent fashion. And then restricted response. In restricted response, the student is more limited and restricted, and student will have less scope because the student is specifically told context in which his or her answer is to be made. For the example, describe in not more than 10 words the recommendation made by the Health Survey and Development Committee with regard to improvement of healthcare delivery system in India. This type of question tend to be more objective, while the extended type question tend to be more subjective. The next, uses of essay test. 1. Assesses the ability to recall, organize, and integrate ideas. 2. Assess the ability to express oneself in writing. 3. Assess student understanding of subject matter. 4. Measure the knowledge of factual information. Principles for preparing essay type test. 1. Don't give too much lengthy question. 2. The limits of areas and the behavior which you want solved be clearly mentioned. 3. Words should be simple, unambitious, and carefully selected. 4. According to the level of student difficulty and complexity, items has to be selected. And the last, avoid praise. For the example, discuss briefly. And the next, construction of essay question. One suggestion for the essay test. First, restrict the use of essay question to those learning outcomes that cannot be satisfactorily measured by objective items. 2. Formulate questions that will call for the behavior specific in the learning outcomes. 3. State the question clearly and precisely and make clear what information the answer should contain. 4. Indicate the approximate time limit for each question. 5. The question should clearly indicate the significance of each part so that students may determine the time to be devoted to each part. 2. Suggestion for scoring an essay answer. 1. Prepare an outline of the expected answer in advance. The scoring includes characteristics of answer to be evaluated and the amount of marks to be allotted to each. 2. Use the scoring method which is more appropriate, point method or the rating method. There are two common methods of scoring essay question. 3. With the point method, each answer is compared with the ideal answer in the scoring case and a given number of points in assignment according to the adequacy of the answer. 4. With rating method, each paper is placed in one of a number of fields as the answer is read. These fields represent the degree of quality and determine the marks assigned to each answer. 5. Decide how to handle factors that are irrelevant to the learning outcomes being measured. 6. Evaluate all the answers to one question before going to the next one. 7. Evaluate the answer without looking at the student name. And the last, if important, decisions are to be based on the result obtained two or more independent ratings.
Sorry, Mega, can you change your slide, please? Okay, that's our presentation today. Thank you for your thank you for your attention. Sorry if we are have a many mistake in these presentations. I will enough from our group. And the last, I want to close this presentation with saying hamdah. Amin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.